At a time in our life, we withdraw ourselves from people and start living alone. We are drawn to solitude because, in its embrace, we find freedom. Freedom from the endless stream of expectations that others place upon us, and that we place upon ourselves. There is no need to explain, to justify, or to prove. Alone, under the open sky, or in the quiet of a dimly lit room, we are simply allowed to be. And in that space, there is a profound relief, a release from the relentless need to be something for someone. There was an ancient legendary lone warrior and also a philosopher who left us wisdom that surpasses the clash of swords. His name is Miyamoto Musashi. He showed the power of solitude in his famous work, Dokkōdō, The Way of Walking Alone, written in the final days of his life. He offered 21 precepts for a life of self-mastery, and at its core, he praised enthusiastically the virtues of solitude. But why would this legendary warrior, who had faced countless opponents and lived amid the chaos of feudal Japan, advise us to embrace solitude? This video explores the power of solitude, why Musashi became the lone warrior. Who was Miyamoto Musashi? To truly understand the path Musashi walked, we need to start with who he was. Miyamoto Musashi stands as one of the most legendary figures in the history of Japan, a master swordsman, a philosopher, and an artist. His name is synonymous with a life of relentless discipline, focus, and skill. Imagine a warrior who never lost a single duel, who faced opponents with unshakable confidence and an unmatched strategy. But Musashi's journey went beyond the mere clashing of swords. He wasn't just a warrior of the battlefield, but a warrior of the mind. He understood that true mastery wasn't only about defeating others, it was about conquering oneself. Musashi chose a life of solitude, a decision that set him apart from other samurai. What drove him to walk alone, to turn away from the noise of the world? He sought something deeper, something that could not be found in crowded halls or under the watchful eyes of a lord. He pursued the kind of wisdom that only comes in the silence of one's own company. Picture Musashi, moving quietly through misty forests or sitting alone in the dim glow of a candle, searching for answers that others never dared to seek. His story invites us to question, what does it mean to truly know oneself? And what might we discover if we, too, took a step back from the world to listen to the whisper of our own thoughts? At just 15, Musashi embarked on what's known as a musha shugyo, a warrior's pilgrimage that would change his life forever. Musashi didn't just set out to perfect his sword technique, he was seeking to refine himself. Imagine him walking through dense forests, climbing mountains, crossing rivers, all while confronting not just opponents, but also his fears and doubts. Each duel was more than a test of skill, it was a lesson, a chance to face his limits and push beyond them. By choosing this path, Musashi embraced the life of a ronin, a masterless samurai, free from the constraints of any lord. He learned not just through the clash of steel, but through the silent spaces between battles. In his solitude, he found a teacher that no master could offer. There's something powerful in that idea, isn't there? The notion is that sometimes, the greatest lessons don't come from others but from the silence within ourselves. As Musashi wandered, he discovered that solitude wasn't loneliness, it was a space for growth, for understanding, for listening to the wisdom that only comes when everything else fades away. And maybe, just maybe, there's a lesson in that for all of us, a call to embrace the quiet moments and see what they can teach us. Solitude isn't a path that many of us choose, especially not willingly. But for Musashi, solitude was a conscious decision. He believed that by stepping away from the clamor of society, he could truly understand himself. Imagine for a moment a life where there's no noise, no opinions tugging at you, no distractions pulling you away from your thoughts. That's the space Musashi sought, a place where the world's expectations could no longer reach him. In that stillness, Musashi faced only his mind, learning to silence the internal chatter that so often clouds our vision. For him, solitude wasn't an escape, it was a powerful tool for self-discipline and clarity. Without the constant noise of others' judgments, Musashi sharpened not just his sword, but his sense of self. He came to realize that in isolation, one can find a deeper, more grounded strength. It's like a seed planted in the quiet darkness of the earth, growing roots before breaking into the light. Musashi's solitude was his soil, it nourished his spirit and allowed him to grow into a warrior who was unshakable. For him, being alone was never about loneliness, it was about finding a kind of freedom that only comes when you stop looking outward and turn within. And maybe there's something there for us too, a reminder that sometimes, in the stillness, we can find a clarity that the noise of the world drowns out. Solitude as a path to mastery. Musashi believed that to become a true warrior, one must train not just the body, but also the mind. And for him, solitude was the perfect space for this pursuit. Imagine the stillness he embraced, a quiet world far removed from the demands of society. In that solitude, Musashi found the freedom to dive deeper into himself, beyond the surface-level skills of swordplay. He honed his technique, yes, but he also studied strategy, explored meditation, and practiced calligraphy with the same intensity. Musashi knew that the warrior's path wasn't just about physical strength, it was about transforming skills into a form of art. Each swing of his sword wasn't merely a movement, it was an expression of his inner world, a dance of mind and body moving as one. Solitude, for Musashi, was more than just a break from others. It was like stepping into a forge, where he shaped and sharpened every part of himself. In that quiet space, he discovered mastery, turning his craft into something profound. By being alone, he found clarity and strength, preparing himself for whatever challenges lay ahead. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What kind of mastery could we achieve if we, too, allowed ourselves the gift of quiet reflection and the courage to be alone with our thoughts? Facing one's own fears, Musashi's greatest battle. Musashi's solitude taught him one of life's most profound lessons, how to face himself without any masks. Imagine it for a moment, when we live in society, we're surrounded by roles, expectations, and the comfort of fitting in. We put on layers of identity to meet others' expectations or to feel accepted. But what happens when all those layers fall away? That's the space Musashi willingly stepped into. Alone, he confronted his deepest fears, his doubts, and the limitations he once thought defined him. He came face to face with the parts of himself that clung to fear, fears of failure, fears of not being enough. But through this inner confrontation, he discovered something liberating. Musashi realized that the hardest battle was never against an external enemy, it was against the shadows lurking within his own mind. By peeling back those layers, he found a kind of acceptance that wasn't dependent on anyone else's approval. In that raw space of solitude, he embraced who he was, with all his imperfections. And through this, he found a freedom that no victory in combat could ever give him. It's a reminder for us, too, what if the fears we avoid facing are the very ones that, if confronted, could set us free? Musashi's journey shows us that sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is to look within and make peace with what we find. The wisdom of solitude in our busy lives. What can Musashi's journey teach us today? In a world that's constantly on the move, solitude often feels strange, even uncomfortable. We're surrounded by endless notifications, news feeds, and the pressure to stay connected. There's always something pulling at our attention, urging us to keep up, to stay busy. But maybe we can pause and take a lesson from Musashi. For him, solitude wasn't about running away from the world, it was a chance to journey inward, clear away the noise, and uncover what truly mattered to him. And we can do the same, even in small ways. Imagine setting aside a few moments each day to just be with yourself, maybe in the morning before the world wakes up or at night when everything is still. Try journaling, meditating, or simply sitting quietly with your thoughts. In these quiet spaces, we might start to hear something we've missed for too long, our own inner voice. It's easy to forget what that voice sounds like amidst the constant hum of daily life. But when we make room for solitude, we give ourselves the gift of clarity, a chance to reconnect with what's truly important. So, what if we made solitude a gentle habit, even just for a few minutes a day? Who knows what insights we might find when we let the world's chatter fade into the background. Musashi's time in solitude wasn't just about honing his skills with a sword, it was about forging an inner strength that went far beyond physical ability. In those quiet moments alone, he built resilience, found a deep sense of calm, and nurtured an unshakable purpose. Solitude taught him to stand strong, not out of rebellion, but with a quiet confidence that came from within. Imagine standing on your own, feeling grounded and steady, not needing approval or validation from anyone around you. That's the kind of strength Musashi developed, a solid inner foundation that no opponent could ever break. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes, the greatest strength comes not from being surrounded by others, but from standing alone, trusting in who you are. Musashi's solitude wasn't an escape, it was a choice to cultivate self-reliance, to become so rooted in his sense of self that nothing could shake him. Perhaps there's a lesson here for all of us. What if we could find that same strength by simply spending time with ourselves? By turning inward, we might discover a confidence that isn't swayed by the opinions of others. Musashi shows us that solitude, when embraced, can be the path to a deeper self-assurance that no external validation can ever replace. As Musashi aged, he chose to retreat even deeper into solitude, spending his last years in a quiet cave, far from the world's distractions. It was there that he poured his lifetime of insights into the Book of Five Rings. Musashi's writings weren't just tactical advice for warriors, they were timeless principles that spoke to life itself. He understood that the strategies he perfected on the battlefield also applied to the challenges of everyday existence. His solitude wasn't just about sharpening his combat skills, it was about crafting a legacy that would transcend time. Even now, centuries later, his teachings resonate with people around the world. What Musashi left behind goes beyond the art of swordsmanship. It's a guide to mastering oneself, a blueprint for those seeking clarity, focus, and purpose. His wisdom speaks to us today, urging us to find strength in quiet moments and to seek depth over distraction. Musashi's solitary journey became the foundation of a legacy that continues to inspire, reminding us that sometimes, stepping back from the world can allow us to leave something far greater behind. Musashi's journey reminds us of the power that lies within each of us when we take the time to look inward. Solitude may not be the easiest path, but it offers clarity and insight that are hard to find elsewhere. For Musashi, solitude was a way to cultivate his spirit, hone his skills, and find peace. His life invites us to consider the possibilities of our quiet moments. Like Musashi, we can find strength, purpose, and a deeper connection to ourselves in solitude. So, let's take a step back from the rush of life now and then, and see what wisdom solitude has to offer. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button if you are a philosophy enthusiast. Thank you for watching. Until next time.